And we are going. What is going on with everybody? It's your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Green Dungeon, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I got somebody on the other line. I'm gonna let her introduce herself, man. Who we got here today?
What's good? It's Keiyaa. My name is Keiyaa. Um, what type of intro you want? You want me to tell them what I do?
I
Like,
mean, whatever you feel like doing, man. I was gonna give you a separate intro, but I'll let you intro yourself, and I'll give you my own intro.
okay. Well, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. My name is Keiyaa. I'm an artist. And I'm really honored to have this conversation with you.
For sure. Well, hey, I keep it short and sweet. I'm interviewing Keiyaa, arguably the best R&B singer out right now. How about that, man? Let's keep it short and sweet like that, man.
Wow.
Arguably, man.
Wow.
Arguably, man. It's up there. I've been wanting to do this interview for a minute. As soon as I heard the album, I was wanting to do this. But before we get into that, how are you doing today, man? Everything's going good with you?
Everything's everything's just fine. Everything's great. You know, like this is a very interesting time in my life where I'm starting to get very used to being very busy all the time. Um, what can I say? I'm living my dreams. Can I curse on here?
Do whatever you want, man.
I'm like really living my fucking dreams. So like, this is a great day. The sun is out for the first time in like a couple days. I'm in Brooklyn. I'm not sure where you are, but where are you?
I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, down south.
Wow. Down south, Florida. It's beautiful people in Florida.
That's
Um,
that's crazy. I never hear anybody compliment Florida, so that was very nice of you to say. Usually it's like, oh, Florida, why you live down there? So it's very nice.
Everybody got some shit to say about everywhere, though.
They do,
You
they
know,
do.
I know the Florida controversies,
Of
but
course.
whatever.
You're from Chicago, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
Midwest.
so you know that we both get slandered. People say crazy stuff about Chicago. We say crazy about so we relate on that
Yeah,
level.
yeah. What is the like? What is the quintessential reaction when you tell people that you're from Jacksonville or from Florida?
Uh, they're like, oh, you see people do like meth? Like what the fuck, nigga? Think I'm around crackers or something? Like I don't see nobody do no damn meth. But what else do they say? They say like one I get a lot is, do you see alligators? Which isn't a
Mm,
crazy question. But yeah, just this off the wall crazy stuff they see, like, oh, Florida man and stuff like that, you know.
mm.
But when I meet people from Chicago, I have my quintessential questions, so it's always stuff, man. You know.
What's your questions? Because I bet you it's the quintessential ones.
Every
What you like
time
to
I meet
say?
a girl from Chicago, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, let me tread real lightly because I don't want to get popped, man.
See, see, that is one of them. It's like they think you a killer, or you got cousins that are killers.
I was like, hey man,
Oh,
I don't I ain't letting none of that footwork shit fool me, man. I know y'all niggas be dancing, but y'all will kill a nigga, man. I don't want no problems. So yeah, I'm hip, man. I'm definitely hip, man. But it's funny because I guess to kind of like take it back on how I even like found you. I gotta shout out the guy, man. I found you through Sage, Navy Blue.
mm,
I was interviewing him, and he said, I think I said some review of your album, but I was interviewing him, and he was like, I think I asked him what he's listening to, and he was like, yeah, I'm off of that Keiyaa right now. And when he said that, I didn't know who that was. I thought he was talking about Keiyaa, the My Neck My Back girl, and
yeah.
and I was like, because
Shout out to Kai.
when my head went to that, I was like, why is this nigga listening to new Keiyaa? Because this nigga was like, hey, I'm off that Keiyaa. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I asked him like, who is Keiyaa? He tells me. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna listen to her album when we get off here, and I listened to it, and if I'm not mistaken, because I did a best albums of the year, a best albums of the list last year, and that was number three. That was the highest ranked R&B album on my list. So
Wow.
that was a special album to me. So I just want to thank you for making that. That's one of the ones right there.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad that it resonated with you. What is your favorite song?
I want to get into that a little bit. I want to go through some of my
Okay.
favorite songs. I want to go through what I felt when I heard it, and we're gonna get into it. But before we get into it, I just want to talk about like you're a freaking you're just like crazy. Like I don't know how you make some of this stuff. Like it's so. I think what made me so interested is because First of all, I just interviewed an R&B artist, and we were talking about shout out to Devin Morrison. We were talking about how
Mm.
R&B. We're talking about the verses that I'm pretty sure you heard about with the Earth, Wind and Fire and the Isley Brothers that they did, and
Yeah.
me and my mother sat down to watch that, and I was
Oh.
like, man, I was like, music, R&B music isn't made like this anymore, and I think the two biggest reasons is there's no more live instrumentation and people can't sing. So when you don't have any live instrumentation and you can't sing, where's the soul coming from? You know what I'm saying? And listening to you, the soul is just like insane. So like, did you grow up like listening to gospel, or I hear Jill Scott in there a little bit? Like, what did you grow up listening to sound like that? You sound like you was goddamn in the plantation sometimes, boy. You be in there, man.
Not the plantation. Listen, we all trying to leave the plantations we
Yeah.
own in some way. I hear you. Thank you. um, that versus was beautiful and amazing, and I think you actually called out some crazy stuff, which we'll get into in a second. But in terms of like me, I mean, I have like music programs in public schools to thank.
Mm,
Quite frankly,
mm,
like, yes, I did grow up listening to a rich array of soul music. Like I was born in '92. I'm 28. I was my mom and my dad were very young when they had me, so we very much relied on my grandparents
mm,
to help with raising me and my younger brothers. And so that meant I listened to several generations of music. My dad really loved like gangster rap, like local Chicago gangster rap and '90s rap and shit. And my mom really loved neo soul, like Soulquarians and R&B. That was her shit, like early 2000s stuff. And my grandparents listened to all the different eras of soul music you could possibly imagine, like from doo wop. I guess not all of them, but
yeah.
a lot of them. Doo wop all the way up to modern, like funk, psychedelic, to like even modern R&B. So like, I did grow up with family who loved music and who loved to play a lot of amazing soul music. So I have that to thank for one. But I also have music programs in my schools to thank too.
Mm,
Like Chicago, and I think a lot of cities at the time still had a lot of funding for music programs when I was coming up in school. That has changed. And I think that makes the difference. Like you said, like it's no more live, it's a lot less live instrumentation, and people can't sing. I feel like that's for a reason though. A lot of us like Black people, we learned our music skills and art skills in general through community programs.
mm,
Whether it's like you go to your school and your school has music class that you go to twice a week, or art class that you go to 3 times a week, and that's enough to spark an interest for you to want to pursue it in college or just pursue it yourself down the line. Or like church, um, learning in the church, and then like being enriched through singing in school choir, but in church choir too. Like I had a lot of those resources that were available and that were like funded through like Chicago public school system. So I think that also contributed to my musicality. Like, yeah, I eventually was like, okay, I still want to, learn how to make beats and learn how to use DAWs. But I think like it is me taking all of that schooling and jazz education and like classical training into this that gives some of that soul. So I feel very lucky that I was around that stuff because I think it's gone.
I
Yeah.
tell people all the time that it's like it's beneficial to like learn like music. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like
It is.
a lot of people seen Drumline. It was like, damn, this nigga don't know how to read, but this nigga fine. And like Drumline fucked it up for niggas, man.
I love drumline because that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like in band, you got niggas that can hear and niggas that can't read or niggas that can read. And in life you have that too. But I think like the hearing is really the like true understanding of sound, if that makes sense.
Mm,
The theory is important. I think theory allows you more tools to be able to communicate your musical ideas to other people, and it can be helpful in like archiving sound. But like I think that soul comes from the true understanding, which is here in the ear. And so like I'm glad that you called that out because I want to stress that like, yeah, I was very lucky to like take music theory classes and understand how to read music, But I don't think that that is the thing that like gives you the musicality. I think it's developing the ear, and that you'll hear that in niggas from church,
Yeah.
jazz people, like all types of traditions, rap too, where it's like they hear it and they feel it in their body, you know. So that's powerful. And Drumline is a powerful movie
I'll
for
never
that.
forget when Drumline came out. Like that was in every black person household. Like every like cookout or something. Like if niggas go inside, it'd be Drumline on TV. Nigga had the big. That was when everybody tried to get the big surround sound. So boo, boo, doo, doo, doo. That was a crazy time when that dropped. That was an epic time. But I'm glad you brought that up about hearing because I never thought about it that way. But it makes sense. I've told this story before, but I went to art school and I was in band. I was symphonic band, so I wasn't like in a drum line or anything like that. So I was much more classically trained. But my
What did you
professor
play? You played a brass
I
instrument?
played trombone. Yeah, I played brass instrument. I played trombone.
Oh,
So,
amazing!
so I
Oh,
need to get back on that. It's such an interesting instrument. But
fire.
my teacher was a jazz player. So when you say
Mm-hmm.
listening, what he used to do sometimes, like we'll walk inside of class sometime, and the whole class would just be him playing like recordings of like symphonic bands and things like that, but it'll be a solo
Mm.
and he'll be like identify that instrument. So we have to listen to it, but it might be like he'll deceive us. It might sound like a trumpet, but it'll be a mute trombone or something like that. Or it might be a French
Ooh,
horn, but it might be muted so it sound like a some stuff like that. So
yeah.
we would do a lot of listening and much more of just like reading the book and just like,
Wow.
hey, this is this note. We must do much more like behind the notes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad you brought that up because that's very important.
That's awesome. That's really fire that you play trombone. I love trombone, and
Can you play?
that exercise sounds fun, huh?
Can you play?
I played alto sax. I
Really?
did, yeah, I did like it wasn't necessarily called symphonic band, but it was basically the structure of
Yeah.
that, like a concert band,
Yeah.
you know, with no strings, and we played symphonic music, and it was cool because the local high schools would like do band competitions and shit. So we would like prepare these songs and we would do similar exercises. It wasn't that granular. Like I wish we did shit like that. Like if, identify the instrument, but we would have to like identify the chord quality or identify the interval or like you know we would have to learn the music by memory. So
Yeah.
we would have to feel the whole shit and not read it on paper. Um, and yeah, I really loved that experience. And my band director was also a jazz musician,
Mm.
so I feel like the jazz musicians taking that jazz approach even to other genres of music is like key, like you called out. You know, my band director, he still teaches at my high school, Kenwood Academy. His name's Gerald Powell. He plays in like this free jazz. I don't know if he still plays with them, but there's a like a free jazz group
Mm.
called Eight Bold Souls, based in Chicago. It's led by this woodwind player named Mawata Bowden,
Mm.
who was a part of the like free jazz collective in Chicago. He plays woodwinds, but he be playing the didgeridoo um, in the setup. And my band director plays like low brass, like trombones and tuba and stuff like that.
Man,
So that's fire. I
no,
didn't know
it's
you came up
beautiful.
with a band.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's I'll never forget like when we were like suck. I had Mr. Banks and there was Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams he was a brass player. He was he played with the woodwinds and mine was
Mm.
a brass guy. He played trombone also. So when like we needed some woodwind help, Dr. Williams would come in. He's like, "This is terrible. This is how you do it." And he's like, I'm like, "What?" He sounded like Squidward. I'm like, "Bro, this nigga's going crazy with the clarinet." Yeah, he's going wild. So yeah, I think like that's something that people really should experience. I remember going to that school. I thought I was gonna play percussion. I'm like, yeah, I'm
Mm.
black. I got rhythm. I'm finna ba da da. It was like, nah, take your ass to trombone. So yeah, that was good times, man. And I could hear in your music
Wow.
that you have that musicality, like you bring up because the other day somebody asked me like, hey, what you doing today? And I was like, I got to do an interview. And I was like, interview who? I was like, Keiyaa. I was like, who that is? And I was like, telling them. And I was like, what does music sound like? And this is how I explain you. I don't know if you would agree with this, but I said
Mhm.
if Wu Tang had a R&B member, it would be her because she sometimes makes these gritty sounding beats, but she's singing soulful on it, and it's just like this crazy mesh that shouldn't work, but it works. And that's how I describe it to people. It sounds like goddamn RZA is producing for you, and you just singing over his beats, and it's just it's mind boggling to me.
Wow. Wow. Shout out to RZA. Yo, shout out shout out to RZA. Shout out to Ghostface. That was my favorite Wu-Tang member.
It's my favorite rapper ever. So shout out to Ghostface for sure. Um,
Fire. Favorite rapper ever. Wow.
that's my guy. Shout out to
Favorite
him.
Ghostface
Favorite Ghostface song album
verse.
verse.
Anything.
I don't. I mean, the first thing pops up is the intro to Supreme Clientele. I really like the Nutmeg song. That's a pretty good song.
Yeah.
Nutmeg is
I was
crazy.
gonna say the same thing.
Nutmeg
That's
is
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, I like Nutmeg a lot.
But wow, that's it's honestly like I really appreciate that like comparison because I don't really I get really weird about trying to think of myself and categorize myself in
Mm.
any specific way. I like to like kind of see how people receive me and go from there. Um, but yeah, I love the grit and the grime. Um, I love dirty samples. I love textures. I don't know. I just love like if I'm in a bag, like it's gotta feel like that bag. Like you should be able to like taste the sound or smell the sound
Yeah.
or feel that sound outside of hearing it. So.
Well, that's a perfect transition to talk about some of my favorite songs because I want to bring up I think the dirtiest song on here, with the way it feels. Before I even say it, what do you think it is on Forever Your Girl? What do you think is the dirtiest song? Are you like, yeah, it was kind of grimy.
Maybe I think I want my
Oh,
things.
yeah,
Probably.
that's dead on right there, man. I
Yeah.
was listening to it last night and I wrote this down. I said, I said very Wu Tang esque. This sounds like slaves escaping in the sewer with the Ninja Turtles singing Negro spirituals. This is
Whoa.
amazing. That's where my mind went. It's just so dirty. The beat is like very sewer esque, but then it's like something spiritual about the way you come on with the I wrestle with demons and never believe it. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So if there's a backstory on that song or anything, I would love to hear it because that song is beautiful.
Yeah. Um. 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 Backstory on that song. Um. Oh, hold on. Can we break the fourth wall for 1 second?
Do whatever, yeah.
Because I want to make sure that I get the name of the album correct.
For sure.
I want to tell you the story, but I want to make sure I tell you the name of the sample
Okay, yeah, for sure, for sure.
correctly. Sorry, 1 second.
No, I mean, while you find that, I'll just talk and just fill up the time. Let me know when you find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that song is crazy. I remember listening to it, and that sample is crazy, and the way that you cut it up with the like the do 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 do, it was very '90s. It sounded like something off of like Ghostface Iron Man or something. That's why I really like that. So I love it, man.
Thank
I
you
love
with
it.
the haunting.
Yes,
Haunting. I don't know what I wanted to sound like. Just really haunting.
it's great.
Um. Well, I guess where should I start? I could start with the beat because that's probably what came first with the song. Um. So I guess it really probably started with my nigga Kari. I gotta shout out my homeboy Kari Lucas. He's an amazing artist. That he goes by Contour. You need to peep Contour. Contour is a fire producer,
Yeah, I'm
like
sleep.
singer, songwriter, vocalist, um, and is a burgeoning filmmaker as
Wow.
well.
Send me something after this, please.
Yeah, I will. I'll definitely share some Kari
For
with
sure.
you. So Kari and I linked up probably like 2018, 2019 in New York. He's from Charleston, but kind of came up here. And just came to my show. And then we linked after, and it was dope. We were just making music together and sharing songs. And he put me onto this record by this group, this trio called Gregory James Edition, led by Gregory Bibbs. This like crazy, just jazz funk. I don't even know what you would categorize it. Just like psychedelic black music, like three brothers getting to it
Yeah.
on a rare record. And this song is called Changing Things. And he played that for me and it blew my mind. I was like, what is this? Like, never heard of this. Came out in the 70s. Definitely people.
So Apple Music.
I think it's only on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's on DSPs. So I'll send you the link.
Okay.
And so I'm obsessed with this record, you know, and amongst other things that he put me on to. And I was just like, started fucking with the sample, like sampling that song in particular. That was one that hit me hard. And I sampled that song. Um, I came up with a beat somehow. I don't really know how. I would have to like, that would be a whole separate conversation to talk through how I came up, how I chopped it up. But yeah, I just wound up making that groove. And the motif, I'm dealing with conflicts, centered on topics of liberation, I had wrote when I was writing Fuck With You, which is like a separate song. And something just brought me to that time. I was just like, whoa, I feel like I'm in water. You know, I feel like I'm on a passage. You had mentioned enslaved Africans and in Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
Shout out to that Ninja Turtle, which I guess would be Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not saying that I was visualizing myself on the Underground Railroad, because how can you
Yeah.
visualize, right? But it just brought me to a place where I felt like this is the time to really talk about that, you know, generational shared pain that we all talk about, we feel. You know, we may call it different things, right? Generational trauma, ancestral trauma, you know, just being black, high blood pressure, depression, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like we all black people collectively share in this angst and anger because we understand the modern slavery that we still live in, like the subjugation that we all experience, how systems of abuse have been developed based off of our subjugation and now have trickled out into everywhere, and it's fucking up everybody, right? Like it's crazy. So I was just like, how can I talk about this? And then I realized, oh shit, I already did. I'm dealing with conflicts centered on topics of liberation, you know, and I don't know, I was just like, let me just try to sing this over this, and it just felt like it made sense. And like, I kind of wanted it to be like, if Heavenly was that like gospel music is a whole thing. So I was inspired by the feelings I get from gospel music. I'm not gonna say I made a gospel song, you know, but if Heavenly was the like hope, you know, like that part, like um you know, like Smokey Norfolk, I Need You Now, you know, like, or the other song, We Fall Down, But We Get Up. If it's going to be the like, I'm crying and I'm dying, but I'm holding on, if that's what Heavenly was, then this was like the, nah, like, let's talk about why I'm mad. Like, I have some real shit to be upset about, and let's actually center this anger for a second. Which I feel like doesn't necessarily happen in those spaces. So all of that aside, I just felt like I needed to do like a gritty, very gritty and dirty, angry, just angry record, you know, like I'm not gonna call it a punk record, but I feel like I was inspired by that emotional center too.
Well, the dichotomy of I want my things in heavenly is beautiful because, like you said, that's like a contrast. It's like showing both sides of the spectrum. And I will definitely say Heavenly is a gospel record. I don't know why that wouldn't be a gospel record. I mean, that's pretty gospel-y to me. Listen to a lot of gospel music. It fits the category. And that's a very, very, very beautiful song. And I mean, we can just transition to that next. Is there any backstory on that? The way that you broke it down, like which came first, that one or the reprise? Like, would you sing that one first? Is that one second?
I think Heavenly, the record, like the regular song, came before the reprise. Heavenly was a song that like took a couple years to develop. That sample is a loop by this very brilliant like singer-songwriter named Cleo McNett. Plays bass and sings love songs, like very 80s lush. And he's got this song called Never Far. I chopped that up. That's another thing that might only be on YouTube too. I'll send you those links. And that was a loop that I had made on the SP. I'm an SP 202, which is like the first SP, so it's very limited. You can only do a couple things. And yeah, I chopped it up on that SP. So like when I would play shows, I would just bring the SP. and like play whatever loops were on there and like improvise over them.
Mm.
And Heavenly was one of those grooves that I kept coming back to every time I would play a show. And I didn't really have words, you know. I had gone for so long, da 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 da. You know, like I literally would sing that sometimes on stage, like no real words, just sounds. But the my love is heavenly, heavenly, heavenly. Those were the lyrics for sure that stuck. And so, like slowly over time, the song would develop more words. Gone for so long, and my love is heavenly, etc. Um, but then when I was making the album, I sat down and I was like, I should write this song, and that's when I fleshed out those lyrics for real. And then I recorded it, and that was the song. And originally, it was just going to be heavenly on the record, but there was a point in time where I was like, I noticed that there were some songs that transitioned seamlessly into each other, and I was like, damn, it would be fire if the whole record seamlessly transitioned.
Yeah.
So then I was like, fuck, I might have to really figure out how to weave together songs that don't make sense, you know? So that's when I was trying to use my ear training, keeping it a buck with you. Like, I was just like, okay, this song ends on this note, and this song begins on this in this key. So what's the common harmony? Like, how can I make a logical walking road from this harmony to this harmony, you know? And with Heavenly Reprise, it was like, oh, I should just groove on Heavenly with my microcorg. Rest in peace. That microcorg is gone. But yeah, I transposed I figured out the chords that came from that loop and transposed them and played them in synths and played that bass line. And at first it was just going to be an instrumental groove, but I don't know. I was feeling it so much. I was like, nah, I gotta, let's bring it back, you know, in a different way. So that definitely came later. That came like at the last stage of the album, to be honest, like in the arrangement phase. Yeah.
That's how you know it's a gospel song when you like, yeah, I'm finna hop back on this thing. You just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? And like you said, you didn't even have a lot of words. Some of the best gospel songs, they just repeating stuff over and over and over, and the person singing, they just singing it with so much emotion. You like, go ahead, like go, like keep going. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel listening to like Heavenly and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I be throwing my hands up in the air. I feel like I'm in church, man. So that's a beautiful song, and I guess to kind of transition in that like. I think it's before Heavenly or it's right before Heavenly. One of my other favorite songs is Rectifier. Now this is what I wrote down in my notes for Rectifier. I said Rectifier sounds like music Shaka Zulu would pregame to before he finna turn up on a rival tribe, but it's spiritual. So before he wipe a nigga nose, he praise God. That's what that sounds like to me. Beautiful.
Ain't that what we all do? Some of the hardest thugs be kissing up to God before they go.
That's a fact. niggas be killing people in Jesus pieces. I mean, it's the thing. That's how life is, man. So
I mean, before niggas, it was the Crusader. It was it was St. Patrick. It was it was a lot of them boys. But anyway, Rectify. That's funny. Like every time you say that, I immediately visualize what you're saying, and I'm like, damn, that dude. That sounds just like that.
That's what you be sounding. Your music puts me in like. I feel like you can make visuals for all of your music. You know what I'm saying? Like every song deserves a visual cut. And like some of the songs like that, I'm like, yo, this is like deep, visually crazy. So yeah, I don't know if there's any backstory on that, but man, that Rectifier is crazy, man.
Thank you, Rectifier. I love that loop so much. I'm still trying to figure out how we made that. I'm still trying to figure out how we made that. Shout out to community, like friends. I'm not gonna say I don't know where this comes from. I do want to respect the producers who feel like you gotta hold your crown jewels, and you took the time to go dig and find.
Yeah.
I do want to respect that. But I'm of the mind of like, I found it, here you go. Because you're gonna have to do the work to find something else to share with me anyway, So I'm gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you all the samples, but I'm gonna tell you something. So anyway, shout out my nigga Mike. He was digging, and it was on a Brazilian wave, um, and found that and was like, he has a tendency sometimes to just like give me the computer, you know. They'll be like, you might as well just finish, you know. So he was looping it, and I think wasn't really feeling where it was going. So then I started working it. This was all in the box in Ableton too. Like this was one of those loops that it wasn't no instruments or anything. It was just keyboard controlled, like fucking with the transients, warping it, like really just warping it over and over and over again. And I don't know. Eventually, we kept tag teaming. I think that's how it happened. I think like we just tag teamed it, and then the loop became what it was. And then I was just like, oh nah, this is a groove, and I hear them chords, you know, and I kind of freestyled that. Like I wrote it, but it was really stream of consciousness. You know, it was just what I was feeling. Some shit that I feel like I didn't have the space to really say. Um,
You was predicating your consciousness.
you know, yeah, I was speaking off my dome, definitely. Yeah, that's really that story.
You was in them notes, man, with that. I dedicate my life to this. I predicate my consciousness. That was that fire right there, man. I love that. And I guess to kind of take a little break from this, I know somebody you're really cool with, Mike. I feel like I just want to give him his flowers real quick. That guy's crazy, man. I knew he was different. What he said, it's on I forget what album it's on, but he said it was like, you ever hear a bar that's like simple, but it's like, dang, he really just said that. And I think he said something like, my mom say I look like my dad, but she don't like that because that just remind her of the past. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like that just hit me right there. And he has a lot of bars that's like not overly complex, but it's like, wow, it cut through. And yeah,
That's poignant.
I just want to give that guy his flowers, man. He's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Um, it makes me think of my brother who has the same plight. He looks just like his dad. We have different dads, but we got the same mom, so I feel like that's my brother. Yeah. You know, I don't know. It's a little different when y'all got different moms. But anyway, my mom just used to give him shit all the time for looking like his dad. But yeah, definitely give Mike flowers. Amazing poet, songwriter, producer. He might not call himself no poet, so.
Nah, he is though. That's him.
But he's a great writer.
That's him on the outro, right?
Yes.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. We was sticking around, me, him, and Jefferson, best friend, who did the artwork, who helps me out with a lot of my artwork, and mixed the album and helped sequence the album too. You know, like the order of the songs. I definitely have to shout out best friend, because he was like, nah, this gotta go later, or nah, this gotta go right here. But yeah, we was just fucking around. It was like, we gotta do some type of outro.
Nah, it came out good. Even when you playing around, it come out good, and that's why it ended up, like I said, like I had like a top 30 albums, best albums of the year list, and that was number 3, and that's the album that just doesn't get old. You know what I'm saying? Like, it easily could have been number 1. It literally is one of the best things that I've heard in R&B in a very, 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 very long time. So once again, just gotta thank you for making that, because that's one of the ones I play a lot, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate you.
Is that your first project? Because I couldn't find anything before that. Or is it your first official project?
Official. I think like this is the first project that I feel like I put a lot of my resources and energy into.
Yeah.
But I did release an EP a few years ago called Work. It's another one that I self-produced and sang over. It's a little bit of a different vibe. It's like more electronic R&B, electronic soul, I guess. But yeah, Work EP. I might have took that off Bandcamp. Maybe I should put that back.
Yeah, put it back on.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it back.
People need that. I've been needing new Keiyaa, so that feel like some new Keiyaa to me, man. You gotta run that back.
You
Um,
gonna hear some new Keiyaa soon.
hey, I want to get into that. I want to get into some upcoming Kia, but before I do that, something that
Yeah.
threw me off. I wasn't expecting. I don't know if you were expecting this, but at the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken, did Jay-Z put you on his like playlist of the year?
Yeah.
How did that? Or do you know how that happened, or is there a
I
rumor?
don't know how.
You don't even know how he
I have
found you.
no idea.
That's
I
crazy.
have no idea how that happened. I don't know if I mean I'm sure he makes it himself and he curates his own list,
Yeah.
but no, like I've never. I don't know him. I've never spoken to him. Our teams have never been in contact or anything. Um, I found out just like everybody else did. You know, he was talking to me. He like I was like, whoa, you know. Um, that was humbling. That was humbling. I was like, wow, like my shit really reached a lot of people. A lot of people. You know, and like I grew up seeing a figure like Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Like I never grew up thinking that this figure would know who I am, let alone receive my music, let alone like fuck with it. So um that is substantial. That is substantial.
I know he's really tapped into the underground, but that would be crazy if maybe Beyonce put him on. Who knows, man? You never know these days, man. You never
Yeah.
know, man. You
Yeah.
never know who listens to your stuff.
You never know. I know the Knowles Carter establishment is have a lot of reach and a lot of eyeballs, you know, and I'm grateful. I'm
Yeah.
grateful for the love and the support for sure.
Is there any other people that you've seen listen to your music or shouted you out or contact you? Like, whoa, this person knows about my work.
It's been honestly I've been so surprised because it's happened quite a bit.
Mm.
You know, it's happened quite a bit, but I would say probably one that has felt really special. Um, let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Hmm. I don't know. Like all of it has been
Yeah.
cool. All of it has been cool. To be honest, it's hard for me to say like one is more special than the other. Like just because these are like I may have my opinions about art or like philosophies and shit, and you know that'll be said in time. But I it's a lot for me to put out and to get so much quick recognition without like all of that social capital and work and like you know moving in rooms. Like I'm not like a mixy person, you know,
Mm.
like I don't be in the mix. I be
Yeah.
keeping to myself, you know, and for the most part, like I do have community and I do try to make myself a part in my own way, but like it's all amazing to me right now. It's all amazing, and it all is kind of like a bet. Time to work harder. Like bet. Like I probably should be doing this. Cool. Like let me continue. Uh, yeah.
I feel like being in what I do, like on camera, I may seem very like open and just like free spirited, but I'm also very like to myself. I don't really like talk to a lot of people. Since the pandemic started, it was like an excuse for me to really just stay in the house because I don't want to go anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because in this like what I do, I need to network. I need to talk to people. I need to reach out. I need to be in the mix. But that's not like me who I am. So you being the same way, have you found any like struggle trying to balance that being to yourself but also having to put yourself out there to a certain extent?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. It's actually has been pretty tough
Mm.
for me, like emotionally, um, but a challenge because it's made me realize, like, oh, I really got to figure out how to manage my time. Like, I have to figure out how to juggle all these things that I want to do. You know, so it has been hard. It has been hard, especially because I've relied on physical space
Mm.
to account for the intimacy that I build in a lot of my friendships and relationships. I've relied on the fact that I live in a bustling like city like Brooklyn where there's like always some shit going on
Yeah.
and a lot of shit there's always some black shit going on too and a lot of shit is accessible.
Mm.
You know, like a lot of shit is $5 to $7 or $10 or you know, you etc. And
Yeah.
so that closing down was really hard for me because I don't really have the muscle built up of like reaching out, being present in like virtual form. And yeah, and then now I have way more attention than I did before when I was just a regular. Like I had these problems when I was just a regular nigga, you know. Like now I have all this attention, and so there's more communications to manage, and haven't figured out how to do it on the regular level yet. So it's something that I struggle with. It's something that I'm honestly learning how to do and how to be good at. And I think like the challenge that comes with that learning is being okay
Yeah.
with the learning, like being okay if I mess up or no, you're not. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broke. You don't need fixing. But like being okay if I like don't fulfill my own expectations or somebody else's expectations. But I'm getting better. I'm trying to be present for
No, for
those.
sure.
Um,
I feel like I say this every interview. Niggas are like, why you keep saying this? But I'm a psychology major, and I feel like psychology.
wow, I
Yeah,
didn't know.
I'm like currently doing get my bachelor's degree right now, and
Amazing.
doing that has really like helped me understand because I want to know how people work, so I'm very into sociology, like why do people do what they do, and I like to
Mm-hmm.
understand the like inner workings of humans, and it's really helped me like with this, like understanding how to communicate with people and not drain myself out. Why is this person acting like this? How do I act around? Like it just really helps you with that psychology, and it makes you not
Mm-hmm.
overthink stuff. It makes you more comfortable. So hey, if you ever need any help, hit me up. I got little stuff and little tricks that I do to make me, at ease or whatnot. So, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah,
always here for
I
that.
would love. I would love any resources. Yeah,
Of,
cool.
of course. I mean, sometimes too much attention. I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I getting this so much attention? Yesterday, my friends have hassled me for months to make a TikTok. I was like, no, I'm not getting on TikTok. I finally made one. I
You
posted
did.
I posted one video yesterday, and right now it's at like 500,000 views. And I'm like, yeah, this is a little too much for me right now. Like, this is a little too much attention right now. So yeah,
Yeah.
it could be overwhelming. And then you freaking getting Jay-Z posting you. I mean, that's just a different level. So I can understand that sometimes it may be a little overbearing, but I promise you, it's ways to get through it and make you feel better. I promise.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I think so too. I think that is like I have some critiques about what comes with being artists, a performance artist, but I also understand that it is what comes with it, and
Yeah,
so like I'm working to get better at it. So I appreciate you sharing that.
for sure.
Um, do you want to work in like like what do you want to do with your degree? That's such a weird question to ask, but like, do you have an interest in practicing psychology or psychiatry in some way?
But no, that's a good question. I like that's a good question I'm asking myself at this point. It's either two things really. It's either I end up going full doctorate degree and just be a psychiatrist and help people, and
Mm,
I've been thinking about that a lot. I said that I don't know. I've been in some I've been in like my Jesus bag, man. I'm like, if people need help, why would I charge them money for it? So I would want to honestly do what I'm doing right now. Do interviews, do media stuff. I do comedy and like just like I feel like my purpose on earth is make people feel better. So I want to do
mm,
this. I want to stack my money up to the point where I could just do free psychiatry and just let people get the help for free. Because I feel like if I'm like I'm profiting off like mental illness at that point. I feel uncomfortable doing that. Like if you need
mm,
the help, then you can
mm.
get the help and you can come to me for that. So, yeah, it's either me doing the psychiatry thing or either me getting a degree and possibly using it for like I don't know, like how Dr. Phil has a TV show and like he's a psychologist or I think I don't know what he is, but just for example, like he has a
Yeah.
doctor degree and he used that to get a TV show to talk to people. So I don't
Hmm.
know, but we'll see. But just I want to use it to help people. In what way I do that, I'm not for sure.
That's fire though. I really appreciate what you said about whether it's like through traditional like medicine, like a clinical setting, like psychiatry, psychology, therapy, or through like arts,
Yeah.
like media arts or comedy. You view that as like you helping people feel better, which is so true. I'm like, you've made me laugh so much just through this
I, I appreciate
conversation,
that.
and I feel good right now.
I
So
appreciate
like
that.
you're good at that. I appreciate you. You said you in your Jesus bag. That's
Is there anything outside of music that you have like a strong passion for, or a think something you think is your like? I'm pretty sure you think music is your calling, but outside of that, do you have anything else that you feel very strongly about?
Yeah, there's a couple things like I love the arts in general. I love to cook. I love fashion and like making clothes, but I think outside of that, I love I really appreciate and value education
Mm,
and skill sharing and like mutual aid, and so I really am passionate about the intersections of all of that and figuring out ways to do that just to give more people more access to resources, whether it's like trying to plug in what the schools took away with like free music or arts programs in the hood
yeah.
or in our communities, you know, or like people like you and me at this level saying, hey, like we agreed to lean on each other. So if you need this and I need this, let's just give it to each other, you know, creating spaces to facilitate that and to teach us how to care for each other in that way, to like relearn the skills and tools needed to like have mutual aid, but like cope with all the other shit around that too. Those are things I'm really passionate about. So I think like what that looks like in the immediate level is like teaching and like music programs and like community arts spaces. But I also want to like push and like experiment with other creative ways to like get information to young black people who need it, basically. Yeah, that's something I really am passionate about, but I don't know that much about. So I have to like really go to school.
Yeah.
In a different way. I can't necessarily go major in it, but I am trying to take like I'm looking for like incubators and
Mm.
like immersions and shit to like show you how to do shit like that.
Well, I interviewed
Yeah.
Pink Seafood, and you just kind of said something that I said to him, and like you kind of expanded on a little bit further. I said I feel like I've like for years, I've been just so like admire. I have like a huge admiration or admiration for the Black Panthers and what they did and the things that they did during their time, and it's a black movement that you have to look back and learn about. And I honestly believe that what you're doing and what the whole like underground kind of slums movement is doing, just a whole bunch of black people, I think is going to be looked upon, or it should be. I don't know if it will be, but it should be looked upon as like an important black movement because I feel like you guys are doing things as much more than music. Like I feel like a Navy Blue album is deeper than music. I feel like an album by you is deeper than music because you're not talking about just silly, stupid music stuff and you going to the point where you saying you want to give back. That's what the Black Panthers doing. They was doing the free lunch program. They was giving back. They was in the black community. It just wasn't like tweeting about it. They were actually touching black people in the hood. It wasn't just using them for propaganda or just for their agenda. They were actually touching them and filling them and helping them. And I feel like even if you guys aren't even at the point where you're touching and filling people, you're helping black people with your music, with the trauma and the things going on. So I like the fact that you actually want to get hands on and in the ground and actually helping black people, and I feel like that's something that's gonna go a long way, and I feel like will be looked back or should be looked upon. It better be looked upon as one of the very important things that will happen for young black people of our youth. I think.
Thank you for saying that. That is a huge, I think, honor and you know responsibility to carry. Um, the Black Panthers do have a complicated history, but I personally appreciate the essential programs, especially led by like Fred Hampton, mutual aid, and shit that we know during the revolution is what breaks down the barriers through capitalism and slavery that helps us survive. You know, like we we. I'm not gonna go too deep on the tangent on this, but like um, Dr. Joy James, who is a academic who speaks a lot about abolitionism and the history of the Black Panthers.
Mm.
Um, I highly recommend that you just Google Joy James and listen to some Joy James talks. Um, um, shit, hold on. It's coming back. It lost me, but it's going to come back. Hold on. I'm sorry.
It's about the abolition movement and Black Panthers and Joy James.
Oh yeah, yeah. She refers to things like capitalism, the prison industrial complex, um, and systems that lead to like hunger and poverty as like death making systems, you know? And like slavery, for example, was a death making system that created capitalism, right? And so like I appreciate groups like the Black Panthers and other organizers throughout history. Fannie Lou Hamer, somebody that rings out too, is because they um, even Harriet Tubman and her Underground Railroad system, like those are like systems that help. I'm trying to think of the word, but like fight against the death making system, basically. You know, and so the Black Panthers with the free breakfast program and other programs, they were creating mutual aid systems. I feel like something that's super important that is kind of lost with a lot of musicians of our time is being connected to the community and doing that work, you know? Like there's a lot of Black artists and honestly a lot of academics and intellectuals I think warned us about this, about sensationalizing and commodifying the struggle too much in the art to the point where now you can sell the struggle without actually being tied to the people, accountable to the people, tapped in with the people, or giving to the people, you know? And so that's something that I think I really seek to challenge myself to make sure that I don't do. As somebody that talks about Blackness, but as somebody that exists as a Black artist, you know, and we may say that that's an unfair struggle, like we deserve space to just be, but I also think like something that's important to me, and a lot of our community that you called out is not doing bullshit messages in the music, and then also reflecting the music in like the community, you know. I like have to shout out Amani Fela, who I believe you spoke to recently.
Just interviewed him. Yep.
I have to shout out Masai. I don't know if you fuck with Masai, but okay, I was about to say you. I hope you do.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta shout out those two. I have to shout out Akima Zane, A2Z, who also is like a collaborator of like Pink Seafood and Live and a number of members. I have to shout out them because they have been organizing and doing this shit for their community, whether it's hosting conversations to talk about things that are troubling the Black community or just curating shows so that Black artists can have shared space and shit, to all in between. Like, I have to shout out them for really like doing that work, you know, just like finding out resources to do that work. They got funding to do this thing called House Fire, which was like in East New York, I believe. And so it was in a Black community, and it was just an art space where you could just do shit, you know, like free art space to come host stuff. One of my first shows that I ever played in Brooklyn was at House Fire, you know, because they booked me. And honestly, some of my first few shows have been because of them. And I was even fortunate enough to like organize a couple events with Masai and curate some stuff. But so not to ramble on too much about them, but I just really wanted to call them out and say that those three in particular are artists that inspire me greatly in terms of like being a fire ass artist, being creative, but also keeping your community in mind and holding space and figuring out ways to hold space for your community in that way. So, yeah.
Now, I'm all for highlighting Black people doing things for other Black people, and I honestly did not realize we were going for this long. I do not want to keep you going for this long. I apologize.
I tend to do that.
No, this is just good conversation. Like, you know, you talking to somebody and you like, for 2 hours? You know what I'm saying? That's what it felt like. It just flew by. But before we get out of here, I do have to shout out somebody that you work with. You work with my guy, Nelson, man. Nelson Nance. That guy is great. Him and his brother Man, I don't know if you ever seen Random Acts of Flyness. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how that's allowed to be on TV. I don't know what white people thought that was okay. I was like, is this really on TV? That's a crazy show. Shout out to him. Shout out to Nelson. But yeah, I seen you work with him, and yeah, shout out to them, man. They're fire.
Yeah, they're so fire. I love Nelson. It's a privilege. I just don't ask me about my friends because all I'm gonna do is just gas them and be like, they're brilliant, they're geniuses. It's an honor to be in their presence. But it really is like Jesus, like niggas are so fire. Yeah,
They're different. They're different. But anything else you got to say before we get out of here? Like I said, so sorry I kept you for so long.
No, you're fine. I'm enjoying this clearly. No, I just want to thank you,
Yeah.
Eric. This was a great conversation. I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you do for holding space. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, and there's more Keiyaa coming.
Any dates or just in the future?
You know, soon.
Soon.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Sure.
Before it gets cold outside.
Okay. All right.
Again.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So that's soon.
That's soon. Yeah.
All right. So for everybody watching right now, I appreciate you coming through. Until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters gonna hate, players gonna play, and y'all holla at your boy.